We're saying that good is not ethically good. Before starting, I just want to highlight that this episode has a sound issue during the first 10 minutes of the recording. If you really cannot handle it, you can skip to chapter 2. The sound quality will return to a normal quality.
So welcome to this second episode of Conversations with Not Daily Podcast, right?
Ooh, that sounds great.
A new format that is specifically designed to give more time to discussion and listeners' comments, etc. And so one comment that we can start with is a comment specifically on this format, like so meta. Rally on Reddit told us when we started this format that last time it was very similar to the old format and maybe it felt a bit rushed. It was because we hadn't decided. We were not sure which way to go. And now, hopefully, it's going to be a lot more established.
So yeah, the first conversation was not really a conversation. It was just normal episodes that we edited for it to be in the conversation format.
And now we're going to try to stick to this pattern where every other episode is like the serious, heavy discussion, and every other episode is conversation with listeners, whatever's going on with our lives, like informal thing, like one heavy, one light.
Yep.
And in this light episode, we'll answer comments to both episodes.
Yeah, that's not confusing at all.
Well, to everything that happened so far.
Yeah, no, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
Like for instance, in the previous conversation episode, we talked about this game called Gartic Phone, which is a telephone game where you draw things and guess what the drawing is, and then draw it back, etc., etc. And we noticed that cats seem to stick way more than dogs. So we concluded that cats are more marketable than dogs. Well, I got a comment from my brother highlighting that it's also explainable by the fact that there is a lot more diversity of look in dog breeds than there is in cat breeds.
Yeah, I've seen this amazing graph on Reddit that showed like the difference between cats and dogs, and that explained why there was like not that much difference between cats versus like a lot of difference between dogs. And like,
what do you mean explain, like genetically?
Phylogenetically, I guess. Like it's very simple actually. Just like we breed dog from way long back, and we didn't really care about cat. We had domestic cat, but like we didn't care about like what they were doing except like eating mouse, and like every cat does that. So basically we let them be, but for dogs we train them for very specific tasks. So each breed are very, very specific to the specific tasks that they need to do. And that's why.
Could it be that the problem existed and man made it worse? Well, problem with big air quotes, not necessarily negative. But is that a phenomenon that existed and that got amplified by breeding? Or is that...
No, it's literally like breeding is the issue. Not issue, but like is a complete cause.
If it weren't for humans, all dogs would look the same.
That would be wolf. Well, the ancestor between wolf and...
The alternative universe descendant of the ancestor between wolf and dogs. Whatever.
I guess, like, that's what I remember. Like, I think it was a video. It was not a plot, to be honest. But I'll find the video back and put it in the comment. I can't really remember it well, to be honest.
That's interesting. So not only is it true that dogs are a lot different, but it can be explained. But there's some cats that are a bit different, right?
My cat is huge, but like he still resembles a lot any other cat.
Also, the symbolic drawing of a cat doesn't really resemble the cat at all, with the three mouths and the sticky ears.
But like maybe like I think your brother is right in the sense of because they're all so similar, then it's way easier to find a vector version of them versus a dog, like because they're so different, maybe we don't have that. It's harder to find a generic way to show it, I guess.
Well, like salient traits in marketability.
Yeah.
So maybe not only are dogs very distinct, but they're less salient than cats.
Yeah, maybe.
This
Like
is
the
getting
car
to be a
section,
very
like.
pro cats podcast.
Well, I mean,
I guess we can't hide it much longer.
I love dogs. Huh? Don't get me wrong, but
They're just not salient enough. Whatever that means.
they're not city friendly animals.
Or our city is not dog friendly places.
Yeah, our life is not dog friendly at all. I don't know, but one day, if I have a garden, I'll have a doggo.
You won't live in the city anymore.
I'm not saying that. If I win the lottery and I'm becoming like a millionaire, then I'll have a garden in the city.
Should
That's-
we move on to NFT? The thing that's gonna make
Yeah.
you rich?
Yeah.
I've read an article. So there was this article about NFT last week, maybe? About some NFTs are already dead. So basically, not sure we defined it that way in the last episode, but like in the NFTs, there's a URL of the image. So there's two types of URL. Like there's a normal URL that like you can see, like a HTTP one. And there's a second kind of link that is IPFS link, which is kind of like universal link, which doesn't really link to a specific address, but more like a peer-to-peer kind of address. So it can't actually be dead. The issue is that the broker, so the website where you can buy NFT, we're not linking in the NFT, we're not linking the actual IPFS link, but we're linking their node of the IPFS link. So like if their node is dead, then like the link is dead. Like the NFT doesn't go anywhere basically.
So it doesn't render the transaction invalid, right? It renders the transaction referring to something that no
Understand.
longer exists.
And what's fun is, so this NFT phrase and whatever like started like 3 months ago, and there's tons of NFTs that are already dead. Well, NFT links that are already dead, and I found that, I don't know, a bit cute.
Well, I don't know. The transaction lives on in the blockchain forever, right? But just
Yeah.
the metadata it's referring to, the source that it was supposed to be about, it's dead, and now it's literally about nothing.
It's literally about nothing now.
But since last time we said it was about nothing to begin with, it was a pretense to begin with, it makes it only more clear. I admit that it's a bit fast. I don't know if I would have thought it would be so fast.
Yeah.
Makes me think of a point that came up in the discussion. So we had many nice discussions on the subreddit, and one of them with Rally was about the NFT resale value. Because after all of this, my gut feeling is that most NFTs are worthless, like are never gonna have any resale value, and only a few of them have token value.
But I mean, the problem with saying that is like we were saying that about like Bitcoin before, and now it's at like whatever, like $60,000. So
Yeah, Bitcoin is a currency. NFT is one object. There is a lot of different
Object?
NFTs.
I guess so, but at the same time, like, I mean, art is the same way, no? Like now you can buy like a Pollock painting at like 50 million euros, and like no one really wants the art. They also want like the money, and I think it's just all about the art. If the art world continue to think that it's valuable, then it will. You're saying that it won't. I'm saying that
It might.
it might. Yeah, I don't know. The art world today is a bit, as we talked about, like never in lungs, but always in passing. We always say like it's a bit bullshit, like the art market right now.
It's just so we were talking on the subreddit about how NFTs could be used for tax fraud, laundering money, or all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I kept thinking and going back to like, oh, this really like presupposes that you can resell them and that they don't lose value.
I think like it's a high stake, high risk bet.
High stake, high risk, no tax.
And because like the thing also, I think you undervalue like the power of Christie's, like the auction house. Like because it was not on some like random NFT website. The random NFT website like never sells stuff for more than like, I don't know, like 10K. Like, but because it was this very well-known auction house, I think like it also give it a bit more value.
In a way, NFT guarantees the scarcity of whatever it represents, but also you can make a lot of NFTs if you want. So maybe it's gonna depend on how many they issue in the end.
Well, it's one-on-one. Like like it was in the based on like the specific thing that like it was linked to. It was in the contract that like there will always be only one.
Yeah, but that's one use of NFT, right? Not everyone is doing it this way. It's just this auction house has this special set of rules that probably mean it's gonna stick. But it's funny how the whole thing about NFT is supposed to be decentralized and not depend on any authority, and you need to have this authority to make any kind of sense.
That's kind of fun, actually.
I have an important follow-up for the NFTs, is that I was completely sure that I read somewhere the final step of commodification in Marx theory is that the commodity becomes just nothing and like pure virtual speculation, and everything just gets exchanged and purely speculative. And I cannot for the life of me find the exact reference to that. I wanted to put it in the show notes. I didn't find it. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe it was not actually Marx. Maybe it was something from Zizek or Debord. But don't suppose you have the answer for me.
I can't remember. So I didn't read the whole like capitals, and I read it like chronologically. So I'm not like meaning like from the start to like the end, and I'm not at the end yet. So I'm sure that I haven't read that yet, but I'm pretty sure that like if it would be there, it would be pretty much at the end. So I can't tell you that.
Maybe if any of our listeners have a pointer, it's driving me crazy. It doesn't change the fact that the natural end to capitalism is pure speculation of completely ungrounded commodity. I would love to be able to reference something more than just my gut feeling.
I mean, it's so obvious nowadays that like I'm not sure that like a Marx quote from 200 years ago would make that much sense.
Today's episode is sponsored by that thought you just forgot. It was in your head just a while ago. It felt very important. But what was it?
Yeah, I have an amazing idea, but like we can do that.
What is your amazing idea?
Okay, we can do it now, but that has nothing to do with anything. Well, it has something to do with NFT, but it doesn't have anything to do with what we were saying. I just read a book about like the question, why is there something instead of nothing?
And they solved it.
No, obviously not. But so the Plato idea is like saying that the concept of good is pushing the existence of stuff. Meaning like it's not God that is creating stuff. It's like the actual concept, the true concept of good.
Of good. Be careful the number of O's.
Yeah. Of good that makes stuff because it's ethically good that there is something compared to having the thing. And what I'm thinking right now, I didn't think at all about that reading the book. What I'm thinking is with NFT, are we going back the chain? Are we like we're living in the true world? From the true world we created like a concept that represents it, which is like the symbolic nature of like, I don't know, language. So we created language, and from language we derived like NFTs that can represent like everything that we're doing in a more abstract way. And maybe then like it will go back to such an abstract sense that it will destroy the existence of everything.
There's a lot to unpack here.
I was thinking while I was speaking. Like I'm not saying.
Yeah, I can follow you in the direction that. So first of all, you don't need all your much about Plato in the first place to tell you the point that NFTs is pushing us in a direction like to be more abstract, essentially, one step further in abstraction.
Yeah, but I wanted to go to the destroy the world thing.
The question is this the big crunch to Plato's Big Bang? So you're presenting a cosmogenesis, is that what you said, like theory of creation? Yeah. That is based on abstraction getting self-instantiated?
Yeah.
And since we're... Yeah, sure. Okay. And are we all gonna die in the you know, the meme that encompasses all memes? The thing we talked about.
Yeah, when we create the all-encompassing meme, everything in existence will be destroyed instantly. Like it won't even be destroyed. It will just disappear into the void. Not into the void. Like it will just be void.
Okay, and how much this NFT is gonna sell for?
Just before
Everything. Literally everything, actually.
Literally everything.
Yeah, because money is information, and information is the universe, and I think you shouldn't read books anymore.
I think like we could create like a doomsday cult
about the NFT of the all-encompassing meme. I have another comment from Jess Collins about the fact that NFTs are essentially glorified receipts, at least in the way it's used here. Except like instead of paper, it's like super strong blockchain paper.
That's actually a fun way to look at it because like, yeah, actually like it's, yeah. Because it links to the object. It's not the object in itself.
It's a receipt, but I still like, I should look up maybe before doing this kind of podcast, but the legality of the receipt, because like, is it accepted? Is it recognized by any authority, by any law?
Obviously not accepted by any law. What are you talking about?
Wait, I have the perfect segue to another comment by Yaris, who first says that NFT refers to nonlinear Fourier transform, not non-fungible tokens. But let's
okay.
And so he was making the parallel between these NFTs and pictures or balls or gloves that are autographed, that are signed by celebrities or sports model. It still has a link to an object, but it has this like stamp of authenticity.
That's, I think, okay. I like the two ideas. Like I like the idea of receipt because it shows how it's not linked in a very strong way, like the object and the actual like NFT. But I also like the idea of like it's like a signature because it gives a sense of value to it that I didn't think about before. That makes a bit of sense for my brain.
Yeah. The signing is a good way to demonstrate the value, because both are kind of like in the same way. All of this is just a contract, right? It's some sort of signed contract. But it's funny how the receipts you get at your grocery store is somehow a little bit the same thing as the signed baseball glove.
Are they a bit okay? Like I see how NFT can be both like a receipt and a signed baseball glove. I don't see how a receipt is a bit like a signed baseball glove, except that like they're both linked to NFT.
By transitivity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like only by transitivity, no?
Well, if your cashier was super famous, then maybe. Well, the thing is that we have automated cashier machines that don't, like, there's no actual physical signing, but there is, well, I don't know. So a receipt, okay, well, like this. So the receipt proves that the cashier gave you the orange. The signing on your baseball glove proves that the athlete gave you the glove. And then in the signing interaction, it is probably free. And then in the purchase receipt interaction, it is probably indirect, right? The person who sells the orange is probably not the same as the cashier.
But like what you're selling when you're selling an NFT is actually the receipt. It's not like the baseball glove.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of like a receipt for an orange without the orange. But when you're buying a signed baseball glove, you're buying the signature. The baseball glove doesn't actually matter that much.
It's as if like a baseball person give you a baseball glove with a receipt that say it's an authentic like baseball glove, signed baseball glove. And you're like, okay, I'm keeping the baseball glove, but I'm selling you the proof of authenticity.
Well, see, that's one thing you cannot do with NFT. Or that's the thing that always happens with NFT.
It's literally like
It's
that.
both always.
It's like literally that. Like it's.
But no, because in the NFT case, there is no baseball glove.
Well, yeah, that's the image. It's even worse. So it's like you bought a certificate of authenticity for nothing.
Yes, for the certificate of authenticity.
No.
It's an authentic certificate of authenticity.
No, but not even, because it's not self-reflecting. The NFT doesn't reflect to say that like the NFT is real.
Well, no, it's not. But your certificate of authenticity is guaranteed to be real. Today's sponsor is that weird feeling in the back of your mind that you forgot something, but you're pretty sure that you didn't. But still, it keeps nagging at you. Let's hope that, just like it, we'll never be very far apart. By the way, I meant to tell you about Homestuck. So, as a testament to, I don't know, whatever, I have a lot of topics that I want to tell you about. And we have this little list of post-its from which we pick ideas. And this topic was in the backlog for the entirety of the run of Homestuck 2. So let's go back to the beginning. Homestuck. What is Homestuck? Homestuck is a webcomic that started in a very weird format where the author, Andrew Hussey, would post kind of like riddle-filled images, and people on forums would try to give orders to the characters to solve the riddles. Essentially, that's how it starts.
Really?
You have no idea what Homestuck is, are you? Do you?
I don't know, like I remember, I don't know, like 5, 7, 10 years ago, I can't remember, that for me it was just a webcomic where like you click on images and like stuff happened, no?
No. The whole point of Homestuck is that it's not that. But of course, when you come into it like after it's written, after it's already happened, like the people from the message board gave order to the character when it was being written. No, it is written already, so now it's just a webcomic.
Okay, it was a participative thing.
Yes, kind of like a giant RPG, tabletop RPG thing. So this participatory period lasted for, I think, a few years, and then the audience grew too big, or he had editorial ideas where he wanted the story to go. So he incorporated feedback in some other ways. Like this author is a very self-aware troll, so he lurks on the internet and sees what people are saying about the comic, but he wasn't getting the feedback that as directly as before from before I knew about it. So I've always experienced it as a kind of a book, but that all goes to show that from the get-go, it's an interesting work questioning the relationship between the author and the audience. It starts as a participative project, maybe more like an MMO than a book. Kinda. Then it went a little bit back on the authorial side for just like editorializing reasons. He had a story he wanted to tell. But the story is a lot about the death of the author, is a lot about self-referential stuff, etc., about writing and creation. And so as time grew, so did the fandom, so did fanfictions, etc. When he finished the run of Homestuck, he started to kind of canonize a little bit fanfiction by hosting a kind of fanfiction platform.
Okay.
And then he did what's called the Homestuck epilogues, which is a sort of fanfiction epilogue, fanfiction continuation, except it's written by him and a team of other writers, but he was basically spearheading a team of writers.
How is that fanfiction then?
Because it's self-defined as fanfiction. I don't know. So you see, like, this is the whole point of this book. It starts out in the intro by saying, like, it's fanfiction, but it's written by the author, and, like, the brain starts to melt. But there's definitely a tone shift, because some part of fanfiction are clearly like very fanfiction-ish, like characters getting married, having kids, etc., etc.
Fanfiction-ish?
Yeah.
So there's a subtract to what a fanfiction is?
Yes, it's it's very relationship oriented. It's there's a lot of happy ever after kind of thing, like next generation, everyone gets kids and the kids get together. You know, there is a staple.
By your definition, HP More is not a fanfiction.
I'm not saying it's not a definition, it's correlation. It's connotations. It was trying to be like the as fanfiction-y as could be.
Yeah. I was kind of like pushing it a bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And so all of these fanfictions are kind of integrated in the homestuck lore, because the homestuck lore canonically says that there is a space at the edge of the universe where basically anything goes. So you can argue that all fanfictions are canonical that way. And so this epilogue takes place in... Man, this is such an intro. This epilogue takes place in one of such fanfiction bubbles, in which a character that is a bit self-aware lives in a fanfiction bubble and says like, what the fuck is going on? I don't want to be just a fanfiction of spring of this. I'm gonna unite all the fanfiction, all the possible versions of me and become my one true self. And so such begins his quest for the one true narrative self. And that came a bit as a surprise, but this takes the form of Homestuck 2, or like Homestuck Squared, which is a continuation of Homestuck, from which the original author is completely removed. So now he gave loose instruction, like set up his team to pass the authorial content to a team of writers, essentially, and they were in charge of that project.
So the character of Homestuck 2, like the main character of Homestuck 2, is the guy that is created by like summing every fanficky version of the first character.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the characters are, because it's a direct continuation, like it's the official canonical continuation. This character I told you about is the villain, kinda, but you know which side I'm on.
Okay. I wait. So let's start again. So there's Homestuck 1. There's a main character. We call him main character.
Let's call him Dirk.
So there's Dirk. He's in Homestuck 1, fair enough. After Homestuck 1, there's a fan fiction from the author that is the life of Dirk in fan fiction universe.
Yeah.
From this fan fiction stem a new Dirk from the sum of all fanficky Dirk.
So yeah.
Then the author takes this fanfiction that has nothing to do with the canon to say that like we'll use that shit to do like the continuation of the canon.
Well, the thing is, all fanfiction are supposed to have something to do with the canon because at the border of the because of multiple universe theory.
Okay, that's a bit bullshit, but okay.
Fine. I completely agree.
Okay. Because then like Dirk should be actually the summation of every Dirk possible from every fanfiction written about Dirk ever in the life, like in the actual truth.
Yeah.
If it was true, which I'm sure it's not.
Well, it's kind of like the platonic form, the essential form of the character, which is an interesting concept.
Okay, but like not really, because you had the platonic form of Dirk that is actually visualized in Homestuck 1 the most directly, and then they try to recreate this platonic form from what the platonic form created in the first one, no?
Well, so that implies that the original appearance is incomplete, yeah? Or is potential in a way.
Oh no, it implies like quite the opposite actually. It could say that the first Dirk was a platonic.
He wants to come back to the beginning?
No. What I was thinking is like Dirk 1 is the platonic form of Dirk, and then like the summation of the fanficky Dirk try to go back to Dirk 1.
Well, it's not the summation of all fanficky Dirk, it's the summation of all possible Dirks, including the canonical one. To go to the one true Dirk.
Including the canonical one. Okay, because the canonical like dark one is actually not the one true dark.
Apparently,
It's just like one other dark.
it's one of the lines of reasoning developed in this thing. Do you ever read a character that seemed like the quintessential incarnation of all the versions of this character?
Well, Sherlock Holmes, no?
Yes, yeah. So Sherlock Holmes is a very good example to talk about the quintessential Sherlock Holmes because, like, you know, there's a lot of versions. I think this is clearly what there's the kind of stuff that they're working towards. But then there is not one like mega sum Sherlock. And it's supposed to be super hard to write one mega sum Sherlock.
Well, it's illegal first because nice Sherlock is copyrighted.
I mean, some Sherlock is not necessarily nice Sherlock. It encompasses some aspects of nice Sherlocks.
Yeah, but like, can you do some Sherlock if you can't put nice Sherlock in it?
It's the inclusiveness property of copyright law. Let's not go into that because it's not consistent. Doesn't make any kind of sense.
Okay. So then he's starting Homestuck 2 with this character. Let's call him like some dark.
So it's actually a webcomic, right? Less audience participation. Written by a team of writers whose the original author is completely detached from, except having validated everything they do. Still very there, but also not there at all. And so they are making a story about the quest of this character to find his true self and express it. And so the sad end to this tale is that after a year or so, I think the writing team was bullied a lot because, I don't know, fandoms are just haters. And see, it goes back to the question of authorial authority, even though the whole thing is about the death of the author, right? But so, yeah, they put the project on hold, and instead of doing like monthly releases, they're gonna release the whole thing at once sometime in the future.
Okay, because they can't deal with the bullshit of the fandom?
Yeah, well, I guess it's not a pleasant experience for anyone. Well, it's understandable.
Like, in your view, is it any good?
Yes. Just having the topic, just by the choice of the topic, is already pretty interesting. And then
yeah, I don't know, I've never had the patience to read Homestuck because like it feel like it was way too big.
Well, it's as long as playing Final Fantasy 100%.
Yeah, but like 80 hours is quite a bit of time to read.
Yes, but if you say like, oh, it's a novel of tens of thousands of pages, okay, it's scary. But if you say like you put the same time in Final Fantasy or Breath of the Wild, it's less scary because you've already done it.
Like, do you need that much of this medium to tell what it is trying to say?
Oh, you're just politely saying that it's longer than it needs to be. Obviously, yes, completely. 500%.
Yeah.
Like the length is not serving the purpose at all. The length is just, I don't know, people having fun.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there's also, so the length is partly justified by the fact that he transcribes most of the text, it's conversations, so it evolves pretty slowly. And he likes to troll the audience, so it goes in one direction and the other one, like subversion of expectations, information management. So there's a lot of trolling and games, but yeah, you can obviously do that faster.
Same in a 1 hour experience.
1 hour, I don't know, because I think it benefits from having a fandom and having been developed over time. But
yeah, the back and forth with like people.
But you can do the same thing even with the same amount of time with a lot less pages. And some people actually don't read everything. It's a lot of character development and conversations, essentially. I understand, I know that it's too much. But then, like, if it's a good thing, if you like it...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's always like that. Like, if you like the thing, like, you never want it to be done. Okay, that's interesting. Like, each time, like, you're sharing or anyone is sharing something with a community like that like creates something, or not even creating something, just a community, it always makes me want to create a participative experience of some sort.
Do your own participatory webcomic?
Yeah, well, more like web experience for sure.
On long term, or like having a fandom, or
Having, yeah, a long-term thing for
Okay.
sure.
well, then isn't it what this is? This podcast.
It kind of is. But like that's not. I meant like more of a visual thing. But yeah. But like that's part of it for sure. Like it's.
Okay. Well, maybe you can think about find ambitious ways to use this podcast to do weirder things with it.
To do fun stuff. I think like the more people listen to it, the more fun stuff we can do. For sure. The format will go there as well. Like more we have listener, more we will play with the listener. I don't know if you agree with me.
Sure. Well, probably. I don't know the future. It seems like a good thing. I don't know. No, this is a very nice point to say. Stay tuned for future experimentations on the format or whatever, and contribute to help us build a community that will do fun stuff. So to contribute and be included in these kind of discussions, we have a Twitter, a YouTube, a subreddit, and Gmail email address. Everything's at Not Daily Podcast. One word. Oh, well, not one word. 3 words. No space. Nothing is case sensitive, but we don't use capitals, I think. And we'll see you next time.
But not tomorrow.
This is so cool. Yeah, I was doing it ironically at first, but
This is so cringy.
cringe. I love. I don't know. Okay, bye. Perfect ending.